Have you ever felt like you were doing everything right, yet something deep inside still feels quietly, painfully missing? You wake up, brush your teeth, answer the messages, pay the bills, make the plans, keep the promises, and still there's this quiet ache behind the smiles, a subtle hollowness that shows up between the busyness. Not a scream, not even a whisper, just a question that never leaves. Is this all there is? They call it anxiety, loneliness, burnout. But sometimes it's not about what we're doing wrong, it's about what we're chasing, and why we're chasing it in the first place. We live in a time of unparalleled convenience, yet never before have so many felt so tired, so unfulfilled, so deeply restless. This is the hidden epidemic, not a sickness of the body, but a quiet suffering of the mind, a constant sense that we're falling behind, that happiness is always almost here, just one achievement, one relationship, one purchase away, and still the emptiness returns. Some say that's just how life is. Keep going, toughen up, distract yourself. But what if, stay with me here, what if the problem isn't that we feel too much? What if the problem is that we never learned how to sit with what we feel long enough to understand it? What if, all this time, we've been running from ourselves? In today's journey, we won't promise a quick fix, but we will invite you to walk with us through a story of pain, of searching, of retreat, and ultimately of peace. The kind of peace that doesn't depend on perfect circumstances, but begins right here, with how we hold our own heart. So take a breath. This isn't a lesson, it's a remembering. And as we begin, ask yourself, what if the freedom you've been seeking has been quietly waiting for you inside your own mind, all along? Chapter 1. Prisoners of the Modern Mind. There's a story the Buddha once told, a simple tale really, but one that still echoes with truth even now, centuries later. A man is shot by an arrow. It pierces deep, and he falls in agony. But instead of pulling the arrow out or seeking help, he begins to ask, who made this arrow? What kind of wood is it? Which direction did it come from? Was the archer tall? Did he wear red or blue? And while he asks and thinks and analyzes, the arrow remains. The pain continues. The wound deepens. You see, that man is us. In the modern world, we are wounded not just once, but again and again, by the invisible arrows of thought, comparison, expectation, and fear. We lie awake at night, wondering why our hearts feel heavy, even though we have food in the fridge and a roof over our heads. We carry this quiet ache, this sense that something's not quite right, but instead of gently turning toward it, we do what we've been trained to do. We scroll, we buy, we distract, we numb ourselves with noise. It's no one's fault, really. Society, as it stands today, feeds on restlessness. From the moment we open our eyes, we are told that we are not enough, not smart enough, not young enough, not successful enough. And so we run, we strive, we chase, we build a life around someday. Someday when we have more time, more money, more approval, then we'll feel peace. Then we'll be okay. But that someday never comes, because the mind, when left untamed, will always find another crack to point to, another lack to highlight. It's like chasing a shadow in a mirror. No matter how fast we run, we can never catch what was never real in the first place. Let me tell you something that may sound strange. Your suffering doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're human. The pain, the anxiety, the sense of emptiness, it isn't a sign that something's wrong with you. It's a signal, a bell, a gentle call, inviting you to stop running and begin listening. Have you ever noticed how even in moments of calm, on vacation, in the quiet of the morning, or during a walk in nature, your mind still finds ways to worry, to analyze, to rehearse old conversations or predict worst-case scenarios. This is the trap of the modern mind. It's like a house with every window open during a storm. Leaves, dust, wind all come rushing in. Meditation in the Buddhist sense is not about shutting the world out. It's about learning how to gently close the windows, one by one, so you can sit inside your own being without being tossed around by every gust of thought. The Buddha said, "The mind is everything. What you think, you become." And yet so few of us were ever taught how to relate to our mind. We were taught how to succeed, how to impress, how to compete, but not how to sit with ourselves when everything falls quiet. So here's a gentle question for you, not as a challenge, but as a whisper. When was the last time you truly sat with your own mind, not as an enemy, but as an old friend who simply forgot your name? As we journey forward, let's explore what happens when we stop believing every thought we think. When we begin to step outside the prison of constant mental chatter and gently rediscover a silence that doesn't feel empty but alive. Because perhaps, just perhaps, the key to freedom was never in doing more, but in finally learning how to be. Chapter 2. The Cycle of Desire and Emptiness. There's a curious thing that happens when we finally get what we want. At first, there's a flicker of joy, a rush, like the warmth of sunlight on a cold morning. We smile. We breathe a little deeper. For a moment we believe, this is it. This will fill the gap. This will last. But soon enough, maybe an hour later, maybe a week, that feeling fades. The new phone doesn't sparkle like it did in the commercial. The praise from others becomes just another echo. Even the person we thought would complete us suddenly becomes human, imperfect, ordinary, and the hunger returns. It's not loud at first, just a small itch, a whisper. Maybe you need more. Maybe you need something better. Maybe happiness is still just one step away. And so the cycle begins again. The Buddha called this tanha, craving, thirst. It's not desire itself that causes suffering, but the clinging, the constant reaching, the belief that something outside of us will finally settle the storm inside of us. Let me share a story from the life of the Buddha. Before his awakening, Siddhartha lived as a prince, surrounded by luxury, indulgence, and beauty. He had everything the world said should make a man happy: power, wealth, a loving wife, a child. But deep down, something tugged at him. He saw the aging, the sickness, the death, all around him. And he knew even the grandest pleasures could not protect him from the suffering of life. And so he left it all behind. Not to reject life, but to understand it. Now you might be thinking, but I'm not a prince. I can't just walk into the forest and meditate for years. And you're right. But you don't have to. What Siddhartha discovered wasn't in the forest. It was in the nature of the mind, the human mind. He saw that desire never ends because it's chasing a moving target. The pleasure we think we want is actually just the relief of not wanting for a brief moment. The sugar high, the applause, the deal closed. It all gives us a taste of stillness, but only because it quiets the craving for a second. It's like scratching an itch, satisfying for a moment until it itches again, stronger. So here's the question: what if we could stop scratching? What if we could learn to sit with the sensation, to understand it, to let it pass like a wave, and discover what's underneath it? That is what meditation teaches. Not to suppress our longing, but to see through it, to feel the craving rise, and then gently smile at it, as if greeting an old friend who no longer has power over you. You begin to notice how the wanting changes shape, how it hides behind new masks: success, attention, control, even spiritual pride. But once you see the trick clearly, the spell starts to break. Suddenly, you don't have to chase anymore. You don't have to become someone else to be worthy. You don't have to keep proving, acquiring, or explaining. You can just be. And in that being, something unexpected arises. Not boredom, but peace. Not emptiness, but spaciousness. A stillness, so alive, it sings. The Buddha once said, "There is no fire like desire, no grip like attachment." But he didn't say this to shame us. He said it to free us, to remind us that we are not the fire, we are the sky that holds it. And so, as we peel back another layer, we find ourselves standing at the gateway of a new possibility. What happens when we stop running and begin to return? Join me in the next breath as we enter. Chapter 3. Meditation. Returning to what was never lost. There's something profoundly tender about the first time you sit with yourself, not to judge, not to plan, not to escape, but simply to be, no mask, no agenda, just you, and the breath moving in and out, like waves on a quiet shore. It's a homecoming of sorts, not the kind with balloons or banners, not loud or grand, but the kind where you step through a door that was always slightly ajar, only you never noticed it before. That is meditation. But let's be honest, many of us have tried it and quickly decided it's not for us. I can't stop thinking. I'm too restless. My mind just won't be quiet. Oh dear one, if only you knew that is the practice. The goal was never to silence the mind. The mind was born to think, just as the heart was born to beat. Meditation isn't about fighting your thoughts, but learning to see them as they are, just thoughts. Passing clouds in a vast sky that is your awareness. There's a teaching in Zen that says, you can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf. In my early days of practice, I remember sitting with my teacher, eyes closed, back aching, frustration building like a kettle on the verge of boiling. "My mind won't stay still," I whispered, ashamed, and he smiled, not unkindly, and said, "Good, now you see it." It was the first time I realized that the practice isn't in the stillness, it's in the returning. The moment you catch yourself drifting off, planning dinner, replaying a memory, judging yourself, and then with gentleness, you choose to come back, to the breath, to the body, to now. That moment of return is where the transformation begins. You may do this 100 times in 10 minutes, and that's not failure, that's awakening. 100 times. You begin to notice the small things, the way your shoulders soften when you exhale fully, the way a single deep breath can open a window in a room you didn't know was locked. You feel your feet on the floor, the stillness between heartbeats, and for a fleeting second, you're not chasing anything, you're not resisting anything, you're just here. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha says, the mind is difficult to control, swift and fickle, but one who masters the mind brings peace to themselves. And yet, mastery in this sense is not about domination. It's not a war against your inner world. It's a courtship, a slow, patient, devoted return to yourself, over and over, with compassion. Some mornings, you'll feel open like the sky. Other days, heavy like stone. That's okay. The important thing is not how it feels. It's that you showed up. You see, meditation isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. And that remembering doesn't require incense or mantras or mountain caves. Just you, a breath, a willingness to be with whatever is here without needing it to change. So the next time the world feels too loud or your thoughts too wild, I invite you to pause, close your eyes, and ask, What is it that's aware of this moment? And could that awareness be enough? Because maybe, just maybe, what we're searching for out there was never lost. It was simply waiting for us to come home. Chapter 4. Sitting with the pain, not running from it. There's a story in Buddhist tradition about a woman named Kisa Gotami. Her only child, a baby boy, had died suddenly, and her grief was so overwhelming that she carried his lifeless body through the streets, begging for someone, anyone, to bring him back to life. People turned away, some with pity, others with discomfort. Eventually someone pointed her toward the Buddha. When she arrived, weeping and desperate, she laid the child before him and pleaded, "Please, Master, give me a medicine to bring my son back." The Buddha looked at her with deep compassion and said, "I will give you what you ask. But first, bring me a mustard seed from a household that has never known sorrow." So she went, knocking on door after door, and everywhere she went, she was met not with seeds but with stories. Stories of lost fathers, grieving mothers, brothers gone to war, sisters lost to illness. House by house the truth unfolded. There is no life untouched by pain. By the end of the day she returned to the Buddha empty-handed, but her hands were no longer clinging. She had placed her child gently in the earth and had begun to mourn, not from madness but from awakening. It's a story I return to often, especially when life hurts in the places words cannot reach. You see, pain is not a punishment. It's not something we earn or deserve. It's simply part of being alive, a sacred part. But somewhere along the way, we were taught that pain should be hidden, numbed, fixed, or worse, that it's a sign we've failed. So we run. We run into distraction, into work, into others' arms, into noise. And when that doesn't work, we run from ourselves, turning away from the very parts that need our love the most. But the Dharma doesn't ask us to run. It invites us to turn toward, to sit with the trembling, to hold the ache as you would a frightened bird, gently cupping it in your hands, not to force it to fly, but to let it know it's safe to be here. When I was younger, I thought healing meant getting over it. I thought peace meant never crying again. But life has its own rhythm, and I've come to understand healing isn't about erasing the wound. It's about making space for it to breathe. The Buddha taught that suffering arises not just from pain, but from our resistance to pain, like trying to push a wave back into the ocean. It is only when we soften, when we stop bracing against the tide, that the water carries us, sometimes gently, sometimes not, but always forward. So, dear listener, if you are carrying something heavy, grief, regret, loneliness, I invite you not to push it away, not tonight. Instead, breathe with it. Place a hand on your heart, if you wish, and whisper, "I see you, I'm here." Because sometimes the most healing thing we can offer ourselves is not a solution, but presence. In this moment, what if nothing needed to be fixed? What if your sorrow wasn't a problem but a teacher? Chapter 5. How compassion melts the knife. There's a saying in Tibetan Buddhism that goes something like this: holding on to anger is like grasping a burning coal with the intention of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. And yet, how many of us live with coals we've never learned to set down? Perhaps you've been there, lying awake at night, replaying an old conversation, imagining all the things you should have said or shouldn't have done. The mind sharpens its own edges, turning memories into blades and stories into prisons. We call this overthinking. But in truth, it's something more tender, more heartbreaking. It's the mind trying to protect the heart, but in doing so, slowly wounding it. You may not even realize how hard you've been on yourself. Sometimes the harshest voice we hear isn't someone else's, it's the one inside our own head. Why did I let that happen? I should have known better. I'm not strong enough, not wise enough, not good enough. But here's the thing, the Buddha never said, perfection is the path. He said awareness is, and awareness when wrapped in compassion becomes the doorway to healing. I remember once attending a meditation retreat where a woman stood up during the sharing circle. Her voice shook. Her eyes brimmed with years of unspoken pain. I've spent most of my life hating myself, she said, and I don't know how to stop. The teacher, a soft-spoken monk in his 70s, didn't say much. He simply leaned forward and asked, "Have you ever tried loving the part of you that hates?" The room went still. No one breathed. And then her tears fell, not from sadness, but from something far deeper, the sudden recognition that even the darkest parts of us long to be held. You see, compassion is not about denying our flaws or pretending we're always okay. It's about offering kindness exactly where it hurts the most, like a mother placing her hand on a fevered child's forehead, not to take away the fever but to say, "You're not alone." When you begin to look at yourself through the eyes of compassion, something shifts. The inner critic softens, the wounds begin to exhale, and where there was once a clenched fist, now there is space. Buddhism teaches that metta, loving kindness, is not just a feeling but a practice, a muscle we strengthen through intention and repetition. You can begin small, a single breath with your hand on your heart, a gentle phrase whispered inward. May I be safe. May I be kind to myself. May I allow this moment to be just as it is. Some days it will feel like nothing is changing, but like water wearing down stone, every drop counts. And over time you may notice that the sharpness of the self-talk fades. The need to prove, to punish, to perform softens, and in its place rises something quieter, more enduring, self-acceptance. Not because you've earned it, but because you finally remembered you were worthy all along. And so with heart in hand and breath in chest, we take one more gentle step forward. Because sometimes the final chain to break is the one we forged ourselves. Let us now move into the sacred act of releasing. Chapter 6. Forgiveness as Freedom. There is a story told in many Buddhist traditions, quiet, almost forgotten, but it lingers with a kind of sacred weight. A monk, after many years of solitude in the mountains, descends into the village to beg for alms. On his way he meets a man who spits in his face. The villagers gasp, waiting for the monk to retaliate, or at least to show some sign of anger. But the monk simply bows. "Thank you," he says softly. "You've given me a chance to test my practice." He then turns and walks on, his heart undisturbed. Now that might sound impossible for most of us. It may even sound naive. But the truth hidden in that story isn't about passive acceptance or spiritual superiority. It's about freedom. You see, forgiveness is not something we do to let the other person off the hook. It's something we do to untie the knot around our own heart. And it's not always about dramatic betrayals. Sometimes it's the quiet resentments we carry, the little ways someone let us down, the silence when we needed a word, the glance that lingered too long with disapproval. These moments settle like dust inside us until they blur the light. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean saying what happened was okay. It means we choose not to carry it anymore, because carrying it is exhausting, because the story begins to define us, shape us, limit us. The Buddha once said, "Hatred does not cease by hatred, it ceases by love." This is an eternal law, but that love isn't always a feeling. Often it's an act of letting go. even when the apology never came, even when we still feel raw, even when it feels too soon, because forgiveness is less about them and more about what kind of space we want to live in inside our own mind. I once heard a teacher say, not forgiving someone is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. I remember that line because it stung. I remember it because I had someone I couldn't forgive. Years of silence between us, a relationship that once meant everything. For a long time I held on to the pain like armor, but all it did was close my chest, tighten my breath, and echo through my dreams. It wasn't until I sat, day after day, saying softly to myself, "May I let this go when I'm ready, may I be free," that I realized forgiveness is a process, a choice we make again and again, like tending a garden. Some days it blossoms, some days the soil feels dry, but we keep watering anyway. And let's not forget the hardest forgiveness of all, the one we owe to ourselves, for the mistakes we made in fear, for the words we never said, for the younger versions of us who were just trying their best in a world that didn't always feel safe. Can you even now place your hand on your heart and whisper something kind to that old version of you? Because to forgive is to return, to say, I will no longer abandon myself in the name of punishment. I will walk beside myself now, no matter the path I've walked before. Chapter 7. The Myth of Purpose. The Reality of Presence. There's a quiet tension that many of us carry, often unspoken, yet ever present. A feeling that unless we've found some great purpose, some bold and noble mission, we're somehow falling short, that we're wasting time, that our life hasn't truly begun. Maybe you've felt it, that whisper in the back of the mind. You were meant for something more, but no one ever explains what that more is. And so we spend our days in search of it, like trying to find a door in a house with no walls. We measure our worth by how productive we are, how much we've accomplished, how clearly we can articulate some grand reason for being. But the Dharma invites us to consider something radical. What if the purpose of life is not something to chase, but something to live? What if the very idea that we need to become something is the root of our suffering? There's a story about a young monk who came to his teacher, distressed. "Master," he said, "I don't know my purpose. I don't know why I'm here." The old master simply looked up from his sweeping and said, "When I am hungry, I eat. When I am tired, I sleep. When someone speaks, I listen. When I make tea, I make tea." The student furrowed his brow. "But anyone can do that." The master smiled. "No, not everyone can. And therein lies the mystery, the beauty, the paradox. We've been taught that meaning lies in some far-off mountaintop, some external proof that our life matters. But perhaps true purpose is not a destination. It's a way of being, a way of seeing, of breathing. The Buddha never claimed to be a god or savior. He simply said, "I am awake." And in that statement is a quiet, revolutionary truth. Presence is enough. Awareness is sacred. When you make a cup of tea with your full attention, feeling the warmth, hearing the water boil, noticing the steam rising like a prayer, you are living a life of deep purpose. When you sit with a friend and truly listen, not waiting to respond, not judging, just being there, you are practicing a form of presence that heals. Even now, as you listen to these words, perhaps with your hands resting gently in your lap, your breath soft and slow, this is not wasted time. This is it. This is life. No spotlight, no awards, just this moment, and this moment, and this one too. There's a koan, a Zen riddle, that asks, what is your original face before your parents were born? It's not meant to be answered with the mind. It's meant to pull you out of thought, into awareness. Because when you strip away the labels, mother, worker, survivor, seeker, what remains? What if your very being, your gentle noticing, was the most sacred thing about you? And so we arrive, not at a finish line, but at a resting place. Not everything has to be explained. Some things are simply meant to be experienced, like silence, like stillness, like the grace of being alive, without needing a reason. And now, having returned to the simple holiness of presence, we turn our attention to practice, not the theory of peace, but the ritual of showing up, even if only for a few minutes a day. Let us take that step together in Chapter 8. How to begin again in just 10 minutes a day. So much of modern life teaches us that change must be dramatic. New year, new goals, big leaps, bold commitments. But if you've lived long enough, and most of us have, you begin to see through that illusion. You know that real transformation doesn't usually come from grand gestures. It comes from small moments, repeated with love. A breath, a pause, a choice to begin again, even after we've forgotten. That's the quiet power of meditation. Not in mastering the perfect technique or sitting for hours like a statue, but in gently, faithfully returning to yourself. And the truth is, you don't need an hour. You don't need incense or mantras. You don't even need silence. All you need is 10 minutes. 10 minutes a day to stop chasing the world and sit in the company of your own being. Let me paint a picture for you. You wake up, the sun is still low, the house is quiet. Maybe the birds are just beginning their morning songs. Maybe your body aches a little. Another reminder of the years you've lived and the stories those years carry. You pour yourself some tea. And instead of turning on the TV or checking the news, you sit. Nothing fancy, just you, the chair, the cup in your hand. You take a breath, longer than usual, then another, and another. At first your mind races. That's okay. Let it. It's like a river that's been flowing fast for decades. You don't stop it by force. You sit beside it. You watch. Thoughts come, plans, memories, little to-dos. You notice them, and with a smile, you return. Not in frustration, but in kindness. This is the heart of the practice. Notice, return, begin, again, and again. Even if in 10 minutes your mind wanders 100 times, it's not failure. It's 100 opportunities to practice coming home. The Buddha once compared the mind to a wild elephant. At first it thrashes, it roars, it refuses to be still. But over time, with gentle tethering breath by breath, it softens, not because it was forced, but because it learned to trust. And so it is with us. In the beginning, sitting may feel awkward, boring, restless. But if you keep showing up, just 10 minutes a day, you begin to notice subtle shifts. The way your breath begins to ground you. The way a moment of stillness creates more space inside you than a whole day of rushing. The way you speak more slowly, listen more deeply, and react less sharply. You begin to recognize the sacred in the ordinary. Washing dishes becomes a meditation. Walking to the mailbox becomes a practice in presence. Even your aches and pains become reminders, not of age but of aliveness. So if you're waiting for the right time to begin again, let me gently suggest that time is now, not because you're broken, not because you need fixing, but because you're worthy of meeting yourself, right here, as you are. Start small, start soft, start wherever you are with whatever breath is in your lungs. And if you forget tomorrow, begin again the next day. There is no finish line here, only the ongoing rhythm of return. And from this daily practice, from these simple, sacred 10 minutes, something unexpected grows, not perfection, but strength, the kind that doesn't harden, but softens. Let us walk together now into the heart of that strength. In Chapter 9, A New Kind of Strength. When we think of strength, most of us picture something solid, steel, stone, unshakable, silent. But real strength, the kind that heals, the kind that endures, is not always hard. Sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes real strength is the willingness to stay soft in a world that has tried over and over to make you toughen up. There's a story from the Buddha's life, one that's not told as often as the others. After his enlightenment, he walked from village to village, barefoot, teaching not with fire and fury, but with presence. One day, he was approached by a soldier, young, proud, shoulders stiff with years of command. The soldier asked, with skepticism in his voice, "How can you teach peace, old man, when the world is full of danger? What use is kindness when there are men who would cut you down without hesitation?" The Buddha looked at him, not with argument, but with stillness, and said, "Because fire cannot burn water, and anger cannot harm a heart that does not cling." The soldier didn't answer, but something in him softened, because even a hardened man recognizes when he is standing in the presence of a strength deeper than his own. You see, the world has long praised a particular kind of resilience, the one that pushes through, holds back tears, hides the trembling. And yes, there is beauty in endurance. There is value in perseverance, but there is also a strength in stillness, in choosing, moment by moment, not to let the world harden you, to cry and still open your heart, to be hurt and still choose not to pass that hurt on, to feel fear and still sit with it, hand on your own chest, whispering, "I am here with you." That is not weakness. That is courage in its most tender form. The Buddha once said, "Just as a solid rock is not shaken by the storm, even so, the wise are not affected by praise or blame." But that steadiness doesn't come from numbing ourselves. It comes from being deeply present with our own experience until no emotion, no thought, no wound can push us off center. And let me say this, for those of us in the later seasons of life, this kind of strength becomes even more important, because we've lived, we've lost, we've watched people go, we've felt the body change, we've seen the world shift beneath our feet, and yet, here we are, still breathing, still learning, still opening to this day, not as we wish it to be, but as it is. What could be more powerful than that? So if you've ever thought, "I'm too sensitive," or "I should be stronger by now," remember, your softness is not a flaw. It is the echo of your heart still choosing to love, even after all it's been through. Let that be your new definition of strength. So here we are. Not at the end really, but at a soft turning point. A quiet breath between what was and what now gently asks to begin. You've walked with me through many rooms of this inner house, through the noisy mind, the hunger of craving, the ache of pain, the weight of self-judgment, and the soft power of compassion. You've sat, breathed, remembered, forgiven. You've listened not just with your ears, but with something deeper, that place behind your ribs where truth doesn't shout, but hums like a tuning fork, gently struck. And maybe now, just maybe, there's a little more space inside you. Not because everything has been solved, but because you stopped needing everything to be solved. You see, awakening was never some thunderclap on a distant mountaintop. It was never a prize for the perfect, never a reward for the strong. Awakening is what happens when you stop running from yourself. The Buddha never promised a life without pain. What he offered instead was a path, a way to meet life as it is, moment by moment, without turning away. A way to remember that the present is not a punishment or a test, but a doorway. In the Zen tradition, there's a phrase I've always loved. Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. Nothing changes, and yet everything changes. Because now you're awake, not wide-eyed and striving, not detached or floating, but deeply lovingly here, making tea, feeding the dog, watching the light shift on the living room floor. Each act, sacred, each breath, enough. And maybe now you begin to see that you were never broken, never behind, never late. That the healing was never about becoming someone new, but about returning to someone you'd forgotten was always inside you. So here's my final invitation, not a demand, not a rule, just a question, whispered like wind through tall grass. What if, from this day forward, you gave yourself permission to simply be who you are, without shame, without rush, without apology? What if the softest version of you is also the most whole? You don't have to go anywhere to find peace. You just have to stop walking past the door where peace has been waiting. And when the mind forgets again, and it will, you simply smile and begin again. Because the path doesn't end. It breathes with you. It walks with you. And now it remembers you too. Thank you for walking this path with me. May your days be slow. May your heart be light. And may your breath always bring you home. Before we part ways tonight, let me leave you with this. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not lost. You are simply unfolding at the pace of your own breath and the rhythm of your own becoming. There is nothing more to fix, only more of you to meet, gently, lovingly, one moment at a time. So as you close your eyes this evening, may you feel not the weight of what's undone, but the grace of all that you are. You've done enough today. You are enough, just as you are. The flower does not dream of the bee. It blossoms, and the bee comes. May you rest tonight, not in striving, but in blooming quietly into yourself.